Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name's Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. Hey, Rohan.
Hey.
And today we're joined by Kurt. Hey, Kurt.
Hello, everybody.
Do you want to do the ad read?
I'll do the ad read.
Do the ad read, come on.
This episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabokasa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports Home Assistant, ESP Home, and the Z-Wave JS projects. Configuration is done by the UI, so no fiddling with the router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. So just do it, guys. You know you want it.
That's it. That's
perfect.
It. Well done.
Love it.
Well, I think, the first, maybe we've got Paul to do it once, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we had somebody else do it once too. I think, yeah.
And it's also I would do it every time. It's just like a nice starter up for everyone.
Exactly.
I love it.
Right.
Gets everything smooth and
Exactly. Break the ice a little bit, which we need to do anyway. So, Kurt, welcome to the podcast. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Whereabouts in the world are you joining us from, and how did you get here?
Well, I'm from Belgium. So how did I get here? I heard you guys do an awesome podcast about Home Assistant, and like everybody else, once you get into Home Assistant, you just get passionate about it. It's just the start of something nice and big.
Yeah, I think it's like the community, right? Like I think as Paulus has mentioned, the community of Home Assistant is really good. And it's good to we can do a podcast about this. You can come on and, take your time to talk to us about your Home Assistant instance. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us. So how did you get started in home automation? Like I'm guessing was Home Assistant your first time starting with a smart home, or had you started with something else?
Oh man, no, it was, when I grew up, I was always fascinated about Star Trek. The opening doors, everything automated, mm-hmm. And then everybody has that call it a fancy maybe, if you want to live in the future. And a bit further from here in Belgium, you have like the Living Tomorrow house, where you could go into the house that's from the future. And basically, I'm living in it now. So that was always like, I want that. That's amazing. My fridge that says what's in it. You can order things online and just let it be sent. Everything is automated. So I wanted that. And when I bought my house, I was like, I have to renovate this thing. It's an old house. So let's go. I'm going to go all in with home automation. So first I started off with my search started with Uniply. That's like a bit of a controller that you have, more PLC. It's nice, but it's not what you expect from it. It's not that open source as Home Assistant. Then an old teacher of mine recommended Luxon.
Okay.
Back when I started off with it, it was more do it yourself. But after a year that I bought it and was fiddling around with it, it started to close up. It started partnering up with we only do installations via partners, not more do it yourself.
Right.
There was also no third party or almost none third party applications that you could connect. So it was really becoming the Apple of smart homes, to say it like that. Like
they wanted their walled garden and closed in ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of made me regret it a bit that I went that route.
And how far down the rabbit hole had you gone at that point? Like
pretty far. Everything was Luxon. I mean, I have don't get me wrong. The products that they have, they're great. I mean, I have every switch that I have in my house is Luxon. It has a humidity sensor in it. It has a temperature sensor in it. So every room is already monitored that wise, with temperature and humidity. Then I also have the LED drivers that do all the LED strips. You can see the guys who are on YouTube. That does everything already. whatever, the shutters. I installed shutters on my windows that also has an actuator in it. So it's already doing most of the things. And then when I discovered Home Assistant, I was like, ooh, look at that. That's nice. All those sensors that I wanted that weren't available, like Windows sensors and everything running through Zigbee. That was possible via Home Assistant. And then I discovered hacks. And, oh God, what a world that everything opens up. Somebody already created an integration for Luxon. And all of a sudden, well, wait. Big shout out to Joachim who made that. Some German guy. He does an excellent job. Response on GitHub, his repository. Amazing guy. Anyways, good job. Keep it up. I need you. And that integrated everything into Home Assistant. All of a sudden, I could see all my entities being integrated from Luxon. And at that point, I left their config and moved everything to Home Assistant. So right now, everything is controlled by Home Assistant in my house.
Nice.
From heating, the heating, also the how do you call it, the water collector that has those little valves that's being monitored by Luxon sensors, but then sent through the mini server to Home Assistant. If one room gets a bit low or high, it corrects itself.
Right. And Home Assistant is deciding to do that?
Yes. At any point, I'm still having to do the air conditioning so that the cooling is also here. But that's one of those things that I want in the future. Right now, heating is my priority. Let's say it like that.
Sure.
And that way, I started building up more automations, because with the third party and Luxon being all in Home Assistant, I could do things like check if the window is open, don't heat if the window is open, stuff like that in my bathroom. If the ventilation, if the humidity is high and the window is open, don't do anything. Don't put the fan on. Just work with what you have with the window open. So that Zigbee connection, finicky as it is at times, makes things work.
Interesting. So do you keep like are you going to continue buying Luxon products and things like that, or now are you just kind of putting things beside it and then just letting Home Assistant, and if something dies, then you replace it with a generic?
Yeah, exactly. Like the LED drivers. The H801. You know, there's a LED driver that does the same thing. Yeah. You put Tasmoda on it and it works just the same. I have one. If I could reach right now, I can show you one connect to a LED strip where I'm already testing it out and seeing what I can do, because I want to build it into a cabinet. That works. I mean, then I don't need to buy something that's like 3 times more expensive, while this H801 costs like $10. I mean, that's just crazy. Like I said, if I knew it before, I probably wouldn't even have gone the Luxon route, because I could have done so much more with it. But lessons learned, I guess. It's like I said, it's a good product, but it's overpriced and walled off a bit. So that's not really working in their advantage right now.
And is Luxon cloud-based, or is it local control from your?
It's local. It's local. You have a mini server, but you can do the same what Nabukasa does. Like have their DNS, so you can just go put a port for it in your router, and then you can connect it from the outside. But right now, I could just put up a WireGuard server on my Unify machine, and it does its thing too. So I don't do it anymore, because I just want. The more I became proficient with Home Assistant, the more I was thinking about security. Because I also put down some smart locks. So that's also run by Home Assistant. You have the app by them, well, from Locked itself, works perfectly. But if you have Home Assistant and it integrates perfectly, why not use Home Assistant? Again, it's you always come back to it. Once you dip your toe into Home Assistant, you always think, but every purchase, can I put that in Home Assistant?
Yeah.
If it's possible, I'm gonna buy it. It's one of those top conditions right now, and it's amazing how you can tell by the entire community everybody does that. Like, how much is Home Assistant? Well, how can I integrate this into Home Assistant? And once the bigger manufacturers are aware of that, I think that we'll see so much more improvement in our little community. There's just gonna be stacking up.
Yeah.
Well, that's my vision on it, anyways.
Yeah.
And you can certainly see like Nabucastle's aware of that too, right? They've got the little works with Home Assistant badges. They're certainly trying to get, certifications now. We've just had, Z-Wave Alliance locked in. Home Assistant is now an official partner. I can't wait to walk into a local hardware store and see the Home Assistant logo on products in packaging physically, right? I really look forward to that day.
Right,
I think it's coming.
Right next to the Google Assistant and everything else.
Yep. Exactly.
It's going to happen.
Works with smart things, all those things, right? Like that'd be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Really is. I mean, when I saw you, Paulus, on your guys, on the episode with Paulus, like 2 episodes ago or something, you could tell he's going to those fairs and everything, and then really congresses and really talking to all the manufacturers. It's gonna happen as long as he doesn't sell out.
Well, and that's kind of the nice thing about the structure of how it's built, right? Is it even if he wanted to, which it's to be clear, we've had no indication of him.
No. I'm just joking, kind of.
But even if he wanted to, it's very difficult to do that, right? It really is very community driven and it's very reliant on the community. So it's going to be extremely difficult to do that. But the nice thing is, like you said, Kurt, we're seeing like folks like you and me that are like, hey, I want to make sure that this works with Home Assistant, and that's actually driving a lot of our purchasing decisions, right? So,
it's really quite something, to be honest. And the only thing that's holding it back a bit is the way to get, for example, my parents on board, not tech savvy people who want to do things like monitor their energy, get small automations that just make life easier. And once we have the implementation, making it the implementation for them easier, then the world is our oyster, to say it like that. The sky is the limit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and even with things like the Home Assistant yellow and green and such, right? Like I think that's a big pivotal step, because you don't have to sit there and figure out how to install it on a Raspberry Pi, or like take out this SD card, put it in here, do whatever, like all of those steps, right? Which, I personally, me as someone who's in technology, I don't want to do that, let alone someone who doesn't know how to, right? So
it's why am I looking at a black screen? What do I do here?
Exactly.
That idea. I mean, the first time you do that, that's one of the most amazing feelings that you can have. Like, look at what I did.
Sure.
If you have to do it three more times, and no, it's not working.
It gets frustrating.
Then you just down frustration lane, and
And to be fair, I don't think like SmartThings, the Amazon Echo or Google Home have solved any of those challenges of getting other people involved, right? Like non-technical people. I can guarantee people are looking down the aisles of those hardware stores, seeing those logos and going, I don't know what that means. That's the Google thing, right? And just ignoring it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also like, it's easy to get started with automations on there, but it's also like, again, prime example, before my parents went on vacation a couple of months ago, my dad, I guess, somehow set an automation to turn on lights with Google Home. And he was like, I don't want to do this when I'm gone. How do I stop this? Right. And so he thought it was on Google Home. Turns out it was on Amazon Echo, because he has both, because he won at something or the other, and somebody.
And they used to be given away for nothing, right?
Yeah. Right. So it's, you have all of these things, and it just gets really messy. So
you could have told him, hey, it's great burglar prevention. You look like you're home, so that's
what I told him, and he was like, "No, I don't want to waste energy." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, fair. I get it, right?"
That one bulb is gonna really drain the.
Yeah. So, Kurt, let's talk about some of the things you're doing. So I know you talked about how you're integrating some of the pieces, but what are some of, like, how do you drive some of your automations? Like, do you use tablets? Do you use voice? Do you use all those things?
Voice I don't use yet. I had I followed the tutorial of Lewis. He made like one of those little speakers. I love to solder things and see what I can do, and make things easier, better for me. And I'm a fiddler.
Yeah.
So I tried that, didn't get it to work yet, so I kind of, this is for another time. I'm gonna do that in another time when I have more time for to really focus on that, because voice to me, we're Dutch speaking, so would it be in English? How can I make this work for my family? So it's more like nice to have, not I should have that.
Yeah. So the nice thing is there's a lot of work happening on that front, right?
I know.
Empower languages like Dutch and all the other languages too.
Yeah, I know. I'm following it somewhat, but it's one of those things. Let it mature a bit, and then I'm gonna dive into it, and probably it's gonna be one of those. I figured it out now. Everything in my house is possible by voice, and then I'm gonna have to make sure that my wife is happy about it, because all of a sudden she says something and something happens, and you know how that goes. The wife approval rate is very important in everything, you know.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, but more, everything is in my house is more for example, I try to make everything automated. Not if I'm not at home, the brightness outside, make sure that the shutters go down when it's dark. Well, dark enough to make the lights in my house. That it's dark enough in my house and the lights need to be on. If somebody's home, then I make sure. Well, I have everywhere when I was renovating, I put motion detectors like the old pairs sensors.
Oh yeah.
I just put those up. They do the job of detecting if someone is home. Combine it with the phone being connected to the Wi-Fi network, and all of a sudden you have pretty good way to monitor if somebody is home. That's one of the ways that I work, like environmental, and then checking if someone's home. I also made it that way that once somebody touched a switch in house, then also someone is detected and everything starts. Like then the alarm goes off. Well, turns off once you open the door, because I have a smart lock. So if somebody unlocks that, then house becomes awake. It's sleep mode, awake, and that at that point it's just a combination of people moving around plus also touching the switches. My wife wasn't a really big fan of having everything automated. She wanted to have that physical control of the switch, but she doesn't use it that much, so it's still automated, but more in a way that she didn't notice it, and that's the best way to be. Well, I think that's the best way to work. Make sure that people don't realize that the house is working for them or is interacting with them. That way you can get more things done. For the kids, their room, for example, I just have the pech, but that's finicky. Well, it's a big room. They have big rooms. It's an old house, big rooms. So, and they're also laying in bed watching their phone or sitting at a desk. So it's not really moving. So I opted for checking if the lights on in their room. So if their lights are on, check if the temperature is correct, and that works pretty well. It's more like understanding the people that are living in the house, and that's something that's also time intensive. Understanding who you live with and understanding what their habits are, and that's one thing that I would like to see Home Assistant do a bit better, helping you understand how people live in your house, if that's even possible. It's more like an artificial intelligence, maybe even. But like detecting the way your family members in-house live and make the house work well. Understand how that you can automate or maybe even give suggestions. I wouldn't know where to start at this point, but it's one of those nice things that could work. I can see that a lot of people liking that feature.
Yeah, well, I think we just had a YouTube comment from Wagner saying very similar, right? Like it would be cool because Paul's talking about where Nabucas wants to go with AI and all that, and he was saying like it would be cool to have AI monitor what light switches are going on, what's going off, how the home is actually being used, and then recommending automations based on that. And I think it would be cool to see take it to another level in the house. If Home Assistant knows my daughter's home, my son's home, I'm home, and being able to somehow differentiate who's doing what in the house, which is potentially possible, right? Like once one of those variables leaves and the house acts in a different way, to be then able to change the house to suit who's home, right? Like I think we've always talked about perhaps a spouse prefers the thermostat at a different level when they're home, and I think a lot of people in home doesn't do that automation, right? Like depending on who's home, what the thermostat is set to, having AI be able to do that, but also at a much granular level, maybe to a room, if your child is home, then the lights in that room can be turned on, but if they're not home, maybe that room just goes dark and saves energy, for example. And I think there is the potential in the future for AI to be able to just watch the house and automate most of it for us.
Yeah, it's something where along the lines of, to me, it's just like machine learning kind of piece, right? Where it kind of realizes, okay, there's all of these different patterns that's here, right? We're seeing like, okay, person, we detected a human outside. Great. Let humans now detect the doorbell. Okay, so there's probably somebody coming. Based on this, we can do X, Y, Z. And then, hey, every time I turn on this light, my TV ends up turning on too. So maybe based on that, it was between the hours of 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., whatever that is, right? Like, where it starts to build that and it starts to even suggest automations or even just automate based on that, right?
That would be great. I mean, that way we can really move to what I always envisioned with automation, home automation.
Yeah.
It's recognizing what your habits are. I mean, if my house knows that I wake up every morning at 7 a.m., turn on the coffee machine. And that's already possible, but it would be nice if it's suggested to you. But
exactly.
we're a bit off still for that, but it's nice to have a vision for the future.
Yeah, I hear that. So, I mean, speaking of some of the automations and stuff, what are a couple of your favorite ones?
Oh, my favorite. It's always, I have many small automations. For example, I have a water softener, and because it's high density water, whatever you call it, and I just modified the lid that I can measure the amount of salt I still have in the water softener. I put that again. One of those laser sensors that measures the distance.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, and I drilled a hole in the what do you call it, the lid, and just ESP home on a ESP 32, and just connected made a board, a little project, and now it measures how much I have still in the salt. Well, how much salt I still have in water softener. That's a pretty useful little automation that I made. One of the little things I also did was my kitchen exhaust. I have, like I said, an old house. My exhaust fan is like 40 years old, probably.
Mhm.
It's still an old kitchen.
Yeah.
And the wiring, the buttons were broken. So I bought one of those, what's it, light circuit, but an ESP on it. And like it has 4 little relay switches on it. So right now I can just control the fan from Home Assistant. I put on a DHT11 and now it measures how much moisture is underneath the hood, and once somebody starts cooking or the heat is turned up, that thing starts whirling. It's one of those things. Look at what you did there.
Yeah.
it's this whole thing that you just need to replace, and now I made it smarter than like 90% of what's on the market right now. So that's one of those things that if you like tweaking around a bit, so with those things, you can. The sky is the limit, and I just love that being able to do those things. What do I? If, one more thing that I mentioned before the show was in my chicken coop I want to put a camera on where the laying beds and detect if there's eggs, so I don't need to walk down my garden and see if there's something or not. I mean, there are machine learning. There are models already. It should be easy enough, but I just need to find the time to get around to it. And
have you got power out to the chicken coop?
Yeah.
Okay,
I just need. I also have like one of those older end of life dishes from Unify, which is perfect for that kind of. I believe it's Wi-Fi 4, but for like an ESP cam Wi-Fi connection, that's still good enough.
Plenty.
So I might use it there. Just put a cable down there and just make it work. I mean, should be able to do that. So then I have power. I have the camera feed.
I was gonna say, could you even do something like just like a weight sensor? Like if you know kind of the approximate weights of all your chickens, and then you say, okay, one of them lays an egg. Now my weight's gone up, kind of thing.
Oh, it's an interesting idea. I'm gonna take that along.
Again, I don't know how it would work, but it would also require you to know the weight of each individual chicken, and I don't know how many you have or what.
Yeah.
Also depends on the hay, and if the hay wet.
Exactly. If they're a bit wet, I think that would be.
Yeah, maybe there's too many variables.
Yeah. One of those things that I also did was like I have a door sensor. A water detector. Like if you
like a flood sensor.
Yeah, I put one of those car seat sensors on it and put it on the bed. So if you lay in bed, you also have a bed detection right now. So that's also one of those things, but it's not reliable enough to use as an automation. My wife works night shifts, so it would be nice to have something like that. Because what I want to do is if she's laying in bed, it's during the day. I want to turn off the doorbell, for example. No doorbells, no noise, the shutters down, things like that. Even temperature in the room, monitor that. And that should all be possible, but it's a bit too finicky right now. So I need to find a better solution for that. I know that there are one of those bands that you can lay in bed. What's it called again?
Oh, like a Fitbit smart, there's a Fitbit. There's a few sleep trackers as well. Why things have got one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
of rings too.
Yeah, I'm thinking of maybe buying one of those, but I just want to be sure that it works. And because if you disrupt somebody's sleep during the day and they're a light sleeper, then nights, the day dream is over. I mean,
yeah. I know. There's a lot of folks that work with force sensitive resistors, right? Like the little strip, and then you. I think I saw this on Mark Watt's channel, where he basically took an old reed sensor, like a old like a door sensor or something like that, and basically instead of dealing with the door sensor part of it, he just cut those pieces off and he soldered on the force sensitive resistor. So basically now that gives you like a Zigbee base or a Bluetooth base or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a bit what I did too. Yeah. But
yeah. So you kind of get that there too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it works properly before I implement it on somebody, or night sleep or day sleep.
Yeah, so, I've seen a lot of folks where it does, where you can basically like based on their weight, so you get them to lie on their side of the bed and then whatever, and if you do the sides of bed thing, which most people I know do, but you get them and then you basically say, okay, this is my partner's weight, this is my weight, whatever, or it's not really the weight, right? It's the resistance. This is the resistance I'm getting. This is the resistance my partner's getting, whatever it is. And based on that, you can say like Kurt in bed, Kurt out of bed, or partner in bed, partner out of bed, that kind of thing.
Would be a nice solution if it's stable. That's to me, and I try to make things stable because enough. Well, you guys 100%. Know enough of those automations are. Why has that happened just now? And then you need to debug, and all of a sudden you're on your PC for like 2 hours looking for that one little signal that you missed.
Or not even. Like I woke up yesterday actually to all my Z-Wave devices being offline, so the house just wasn't like. I'd walk into a room and motion sensors weren't working, all the lights wouldn't turn on because they're all behind Z-Wave dimmers, and it turns out that for whatever reason, I have my Z-Wave JS instance on another computer in another room, and it was on. So I was like, oh, it's just frozen, whatever. I tried to SSH into it, connection refused. I'm like, whatever, I'll just reset it. And it didn't come back. I'm like, okay. I then had looked, and the static IP address that had been assigned sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. decided to get assigned to something else, and it couldn't get its IP address. And then, of course, something else got the IP address. So it's not even like home assistant, right?
It's always the stupidest things. It's always the stupidest things.
Like nothing I did broke. It was just this static reservation in my router that decided to go, no, we're not doing that today.
I'm good.
You're going to wake up to a dumb house. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird how that even happens.
Yeah, right.
And what kind of router do you have?
It's an ASUS router.
I have Unify, so right now it works. It's quite stable, to be honest, so I'm happy with that.
I just don't like the price of Unify.
Oh.
It's expensive.
Yeah. There's something to say for that. I mean, look at me. I'm also looking at ways to make things happen as cheap as possible. I mean, we have the ability to tweak technology to our will. So if I look at all the cameras that I have laying around, it's also like Chinese crap to say it like that. But but you make it work. I mean, you make sure that it doesn't have the ability to call home. You block it off from the internet. You put it in some kind of camera system, NVR. Like I have Blue Iris right now. And that works as well. So it doesn't need to be expensive because we have the ability to make all the programmings ourselves with Home Assistant.
Yeah,
and that's the power, and it remains the power that we're not locked into one system, or we can look around, do our own thing. Especially with the community that we have, most of the time, if you have an idea, somebody else has done it. And
that's right.
Probably even better than you could have done it before. Well, do it now.
Yeah.
So, and as long as we can keep this community going like this, the Home Assistant logo on all the packaging is coming closer and closer to us.
That's it.
One of those things that I also am thinking of is one of those cleaning robots that you guys have. I was listening in how
yes.
great you are finding it, and I was like, I want it, and I find that expensive. Like one of those moppers.
They are.
They are.
And I'm not sure if it will work because I have 3 kids, one 4-year-old, 2 teens, and they love letting things lay around, their toys and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I need some kind of sensor or what is it later built in so that it can avoid everything, because otherwise it's gonna.
So these robots, the vacuum cleaners, are pretty good at that. I have a 12-month-old and a 3-year-old, so I still go around picking up all the toys, the blocks, the Legos that's been thrown around the house. But they do have like pretty good AI detection, like detects shoes, cloths, and it'll actually show you a photo. Oh, I avoided this because it looks like a t-shirt that's been left on the ground or something, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm really impressed with it. But I still will find, things that it has sucked up. Hair ties always getting sucked up. I've actually got an alert in Home Assistant now to say that there is a blockage in my in the duct because something's gone up that shouldn't have gone up. So I have to go and take that apart and see what it's sucked up. I found paddle pop sticks in there. I don't know if you know what they are. But
I have no idea what a paddle pop is.
Yeah, it's like the little wooden stick you get in an ice cream,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like random things like have been sucked up by this robot and then it's clogged in because I can't go around the tubes. So yeah, but for the most part, right, like the mopping is fantastic and the vacuuming is awesome. So
do you have some kind of wall of shame for of what's being sucked up? Look at what you let lay around. From
kids aren't
the
old
fridge.
enough to shame them yet, so no, not yet.
Just a few more years. Look at what you did. Look
at what you did. Now you can go unclog the vacuum cleaner. Off you go.
Yeah,
that's right. Also, you owe me $100 for this thing that you broke.
Yeah. But yeah, the even like the latest model, I don't want to be a spruik. This isn't an ad for a Roborock or anything, but I did see like a promo video for the S8, and it's got the little thing that comes out and it rises up its mop even higher. Like they are very advanced now. So
I'm gonna be the spook. Roborock, if you want to send me something, just contact these guys.
That's just a generic statement. If you want to send anybody anything, just let us know.
I love to demo.
That's it.
I mean, I've got an Ecovacs. It's now old. It's the X1 Omni. But same thing. I've had pretty good luck with it. Granted, I don't have that much stuff. I tend to pick up a lot of things. It's just who I am. But sometimes we end up leaving laundry will finish later than we thought it would. So we take it, dump it on the floor, and then we'll be like, hey, we'll deal with this tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes around, I've got a meeting and it's running around doing it, like the vacuum is doing its thing. But so far I've had pretty good luck with mine too. It's just kind of like what Phil said too. So, but it's cool. Mine doesn't like send me a picture being like, hey, I avoided this. So that's kind of neat that it does that.
Yeah, I kind of love that feature, to be honest. Just the idea of, look at how messy you are. And I would find that funny. Look at that. I was going to pick that up. I was going to pick that up. I forgot.
Not even I am going to touch that.
Next time I'm going to ruin this shirt of yours or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, your favorite shirt? You wouldn't want that being destroyed by me.
That's right. That's right.
It all depends on the color, right? Like I had mine yesterday run over a white cable against a very light colored carpet, right? And then I just got a message saying the robot's trapped. I'm gonna go in. It's chewed up this cable, and it's got it stuck around its brushes. I'm like, okay, like you couldn't avoid you avoid cables everywhere else, but not here.
Yeah.
But, I guess colors, and it is just
black
a
cable for there.
Yeah.
Next cable there is going to be a black one. There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
Quick fix.
You mentioned before presence. What are you using for presence detection in the house? Like, do you have home away sensors, or is it more the house just knows what mode it is in?
It knows what mode it is in. Granted, I take because I have cameras outside. I detect if there's a car parked there. But if the doors are locked with my smart locks, I can also have a detection if the door is locked or not. So there are a few ways that the house detects from somebody's probably not home. For example, the car is gone, the doors are locked, and there's no detection in the house. Well, in the house with the peer sensors, there's nobody home, and then it turns on the alarm, everything that comes along with it. So right now, that I have little issues with that. To be honest, it's there's so many variables that, and I have 3 kids and a wife, and my wife works nights, like I said. So there's almost always someone home, always someone home at one point, or I'm working from home. So there's maybe not enough testing, to be honest, but it works great. Maybe it's just because there's almost always someone home that it doesn't have I didn't have any error handling yet or bugging.
And have you used like things like Bayesian sensors or anything, or is it just purely this is the state? That's it.
This is the state. Yeah.
That's great.
That's one of those things that I want to try, though. I find it interesting, but like I said, right now it works, so I'm not going to change it while it works. So
yeah,
I can I can think of a few use cases for it. Honestly, I mean, I always will find some way to use it, even if it's the bathroom. To be honest, I mean, sitting still and everything. So but right now it works, so I'm not going to change. It's more of a way that don't change a winning team at this point. So once it's matured a bit more, even then, who knows what's possible. That's the nice thing of it. If you have something working, you don't necessarily need to change it up.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Where do you write your automations? I know some people love Node-RED, some people love YAML, some people have even started using just purely the UI builder now. When you go to automate something, what is your go-to tool?
For my solar panels and the battery, I have Node-RED. I'm using Node-RED because I have no way to read the API and send it to the energy dashboard otherwise.
Okay.
So right now I read the JSON and divide it up everywhere to the right entities, and that's the only way that I use Node-RED right now. And all my other automations are done through the UI, which has immensely improved since their new iteration that they just did.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
copy pasting, drag dropping now. It's
getting there. I was really impressed with the latest that they did there. I wasn't aware that change was coming, but once I was there, I was like, oh, look at this.
Right.
Yep.
It was a bit getting used to, because if you're used to the clunkiness and you know what to do, then you can make it work. But now it's so easy to use. A child could program something, and that's why I'm not using Node-RED that much. I used it more also for things like in my mailbox I have like a door sensor, and once there's mail in there, get a notification through what was it, pushover, and I changed that also to the Home Assistant notification, because I finally got everybody in the house put the Home Assistant app on their phone, and so why use something else?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I mean, pushover was really responsive, but if I was relying on it too much, who knows when they shut down their service? It's a possibility. Look at lately what we're seeing there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to take that risk. So Home Assistant app it is, and well, it makes everything so much nicer. I mean, all the big things like my workplaces and wife workplace, it's school. Everything's put in zones, so everything is nicely wrapped up like that. So that's one of the ways that I also do my automations is if somebody's in that zone, I know if they're leaving at that time, they're probably going to be home at that, like in a half an hour, just saying something, and then turn on the heat if nobody's home, which again is not always the case. Somebody's always home, but it's built in. It should work, and one of the things that I'm also looking at, I didn't mention it yet, but I work for an elementary school. I'm like the ICT there. I also work for many, in many different locations, so I have to switch up a bit. I also want to register which trips I make from one school to the other, because like deductions from travel time and everything. So I want to automate that too, and I'm looking in a way to do that with Home Assistant as well, because I have everything in a zone. So I should be able to detect from if I'm moving from that zone to that zone. That's that distance. I can put that into a database and make at the end of the month turn it in and hey, give me that much money because I traveled that much distance. That's one of the ways, one of those things that I want to implement too, but not sure how to do it yet. Because I like to keep everything in Home Assistant, but I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do. Because I want to put it in a MariaDB or something and just make it work like that. That's one of those things that is in the back of my mind. I want to do that. That's one of those projects that is in the air and all really enticing enough, but not no time right now. And so what do? I just put in an Excel sheet right now.
Fair.
Yeah. Works. That's one of those things that I'm also thinking about implementing Home Assistant into the school system. I'm not working that I'm just there for 2 years now and switched fields 2 years ago, and they already did because of COVID. There were a lot more regulations like constant air monitoring in the classrooms. If I was there, would have been there. Home Assistant would have done all that, but right now, no. That's already done by an outside service through the cloud, and they're paying for it. And it hurts my Home Assistant heart so much to see that bill come in. So that's one of those things that I was surprised to see as well. All of a sudden, from the government, there were courses about Home Assistant, like from our government. Yep, how to implement Home Assistant into your school and monitor the air. Those things are coming as well. So I was like, I could have done that course. I could have given that lesson. That's amazing. I also do. I'm doing. I sound like a very busy man. I'm a busy man, but one day a week I'm doing a bachelor course. I'm going for my bachelor degree, and there was an IoT course as well, and Home Assistant was mentioned but not used, and I implemented it in my project because we had to do a weather like ESP32 weather station. You had to build that and document it and everything. You know how those courses go. And all of a sudden I was like, I could make a web page or this web server on the ESP, but I'm going to put it in Assistant and get extra credits because I'm working through MQTT and everything and like that. And here's a dashboard, and everybody was very impressed. And I was like, hey, that works as well. And all of a sudden, I'm introducing like Home Assistant to 30 other students, and people heard of it, but they weren't aware how easy it is to those things happen there, because all the teachers are just using cloud services. I don't even know which one it was. I think it was even Smart Things was using, I don't know, it was an external MQTT server. And I was like, but everything is built in this and it's so easy. So yeah. Who knows what seed I planted there? I hope I did one. I did, because I love being somebody who says, look at that amazing thing that somebody's making. Look at that community and join us. Everybody join us. Come on. The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's and pro tip, if you want more marks in school, use Home Assistant.
That's it.
Exactly. It works. Yeah.
Have you had any feature requests from your kids or family, like that you've had, I want this automation, or can the house do this, that you had to add in?
Always. There's the thing is that they love that Home Assistant is in our house, but they hate that I can see if they're still awake.
Yeah.
I can say, hey, why are you still awake at like 12 on a school night? Go to bed and stuff like that. So, but they always ask things like if they're leaving in the morning, that, for example, that they don't have to turn off the light in the morning in their bedroom. They always are like little zombies when waking up, and we're just going downstairs, and I just turn off the light for them and stuff like that, and make sure that their shutters are staying closed while they're still sleeping in the weekends. Things like that, small things that they really have more comfort as well. I'm looking always, for them it's more like a convenience / comfort thing. To me, it's more like a functional thing. I think that's the adult way of Home Assistant. Not having something like, ooh, I can just use an app to turn on the light or turn off the light. No, it's much more that it's monitoring how your house is doing, how's its health, how much humidity is in the bathroom, and make sure that the exhaust is working as long as it's above a certain percentage. It's so much more than just being lazy on the couch and turning off the light because you're watching TV. Ideally, the house would do that before you if you sit down on the couch and turn on the TV. But that's just making sure that your automations are on point. And as long as we keep on improving like that, things are looking bright.
That's it.
Now, you mentioned before you don't have voice. How do you override or drive Home Assistant in general? Like, are you using tablets or anything around the house?
I have one tablet on the wall, but it's barely being used, to be honest. And that's, in my opinion, good. Then that means I'm doing something good. I mean, that's the switches are like the Luxon switches are still being used, but not that much. The where they're still being used really often is where I don't have the PIF sensors yet. Because for the detection in my old kitchen, there's still no detection there, and the switch is the way to turn on the light. So it's there. It's still a work in progress, and you can see the switch being used there. But if it was automatically detected, nobody would use the switches almost.
I bet. Yeah.
So it's a work in progress, like I said, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, my house can be a totally different house tomorrow if I feel like I need to change something. The only thing I wish that Home Assistant would do a bit better is their dashboards. It's really hard to make it nice, and if you don't use Mushroom, for example, then it's clunky. For granted, the tile. What's it called? The tile card has improved a lot. That made things a lot better. But I wish they would use that. What's it called? The environment or the room card. There's one card that's also like room. They would improve on that, or at least give that thing some love.
The picture. There's a picture entity one too, I think, and it gives you a picture with all the icons. Is that the one you mean?
No. There's one where it's just blue. And for example, it's bad for when you see humidity on the left bottom and lights and the sensors, but you cannot really edit that or modify it. It's more the way you've programmed is the right word your entity or how you set up your entities, and it's not always working correctly. While it should work, it's still not working the way it should. That's a shame, because otherwise I would just use those cards. And right now I have tile cards with horizontal and vertical stacks, and building my own little thing there that you can see with the mushroom what's it called badge that you can tap on it, and you have the shutter control, and everything is really nicely made. But I also realized that if something changes in Home Assistant, all of a sudden that can be juggled up, and it's I don't like having to update and then see everything maybe go a bit spaghettios. So
yep, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, then there's a new what's it called? Sections UI as well.
the new layout style.
Yeah, I think it's called Sections. Yeah, and which is, again, it gives you that drag and drop. It gives you all of that. But again, it's not meant for a full dashboard replacement, right? So that came with the Grace update for.
That's the latest. I didn't check that out yet. Yeah, you guys mentioned it in the last episode.
Yeah. It's still not perfect. It's still not kind of what you're asking for, right? But yeah.
If I could have my wish, I would kind of want to have it in some kind of CSS or maybe even some JavaScript, and maybe build it up like that and just style it the way I want. But that's again not a solution for somebody who doesn't know how to program that. So it doesn't make it user friendly. So I understand that they don't do that. So the developers don't do that. It needs to be easy for everyone, not just.
That's it, right? Well, I know there is what's that custom card? The card editor where you can put in CSS and do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, the custom
card mode.
Yeah. I know which one. Yeah. But Home Assistant, it's how do you call it? Structure is really weird, and so it's not like if you want to use regular CSS, it's a weird way to implement it. So I have it done right now. I'm using it right now, but it's so rudimentary. It's so low level that I wouldn't dare to touch it that much. Let's say it like that.
Sure.
And particularly, the next update comes out, and then all that CSS work that you just did has to be updated and maintained. And
I had to do it last time now, like 2 updates ago. So it was all of a sudden, why are my buttons wrong, and what happened?
Yep.
And I didn't know. And that's I don't like that. I don't like surprises in that fashion, because Home Assistant is so beautiful, but once you realize that so much depends on it, once I start thinking about it, if my Docker container fails, I'm in trouble. I need to implement more backups and everything. That's in the back of my head. I still didn't do it, but I'm starting to realize I need to have a fail-safe, because right now I don't have any. So that's a scary thought, and that's one of those things that I need to think about, and that's also something that might stop us from being really mainstream. Is if you don't have power, then your lights are not working. If you have power and all of a sudden your little Raspberry Pi breaks, you don't have anything. You don't have lights. You don't have heating. You don't have anything. My locks wouldn't open. Sure. To say it like that, it's not nothing. Let's say it like that. So
I think that when designing a smart home, right, you always have to think, what's the point of failure, and how can we avoid that? What's the fail safe, right? Like, for a long time, when I put my smart lock on the front door, like we bought the new house, I was like, one of the first things I did was change the locks to a smart lock. I'm like, that's it. We're going codes, but it doesn't have a key. And we didn't have any keys to the house. And I knew, like, well, if that thing runs out of batteries, or for whatever reason it resets, we can't get into the house. We're going to call a locksmith out. So for a while I had just a 9-volt battery in a box next to the door so that it could power the smart lock. That was a fail-safe, right? So that if it did run out of batteries, we could at least power it on and get into the house. And now we've got 2 smart locks, so that sort of reduces it. But the last thing I'd want is
exactly the same thing. Yeah, I have a 9-volt battery as well. You have the little pins that I can push in, and then all of a sudden I can put a code in. So I can go inside, so that works, and that's also a bit of peace of mind. And the thing that I had to comment on like at least 3 times. But what if people hack your lock? I mean, and the thing I always say, okay, look, what do you think that a burglar will do? Will it hack my lock, or will it pick up a rock that's laying there and throw in a window? What's the thing that it will do? What will he do?
And that's what I always come back to, right? You can do everything, but then until you have most doors end up having like a window or a glass or something on it, or you have a window next to it. Just
exactly.
There's only so much you're going to do until you go smash the.
Exactly. And,
I mean, you can even punch through.
And the thing I also mention is, and what do you think a thief or a burglar would think once he sees that smart lock? Oh, look at that. What else is in that house if they're already doing that at their front door? What else kind of security is in there? I would skip that house because you don't know what's in there. And something they don't like is uncertainty. I mean, that's not the same as having a dog bark inside. They don't like that either. And even if it's one of those little ones. Noise.
No, for sure. Yeah. Well, it's again, even having your Amazon Echo or something just play a dog barking noise, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever.
That's one thing. If I didn't have an actual dog, I would actually do that kind of thing. Like, my camera detects a person. There you go. Start barking.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I should just, when the Ring detects motion, play a dog barking sound on the Sonos.
Yeah.
It needs to be realistic though, right? Like I don't want it to be comical dog barking.
It's going to be me on my mic going, woof, 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 woof.
Yeah, but
that will scare everyone away.
Honestly, I think from inside it all sounds realistic. I don't think you need to have that high quality dog, to be honest, or a dog sound. So.
Yeah, but you know how like some things like just like I don't know when you're watching a movie and you're like that was like an edited in bark.
Oh
right?
The scream, the Wilhelm scream that you always have.
Yes. Yeah. I don't want that. Like I heard that dog bark like 20 times. I know that's not a real dog, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can find a good quality recording of like 30 seconds of a dog barking or something like that, right? And then
maybe someone even is using Home Assistant and has one like uploaded. Send it to me. I'll gladly use that.
There you go. Feedback at haspodcast.io.
Yeah, there. You hear it, guys? Send all your dog
all the
sounds
dog. Yeah,
we're just gonna have a slew of emails of just dog barks, and it's like, what is this?
I'll add them to a GitHub repo, and everyone can just select which dog they want. Right?
How great would that be?
That would be awesome. Have like a little GitHub repo of go by breed, by accent. I want an Australian dog this time.
Paulus helped the world by creating Home Assistant. Phil helped the world by creating a GitHub repo of dogs barking.
Oh, that would be great.
And we can version control it as they age. There you go.
That's right. There you go.
Version control it. That's cool. All right. Well, Kurt, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really do appreciate your time today. We'll leave links to everywhere. I'll try and leave links to all the hacks, repos, and YouTube videos we talked about today. But yeah, Kurt, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure to be here. I loved it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. Cheers.